point. So remember, our learning target today says I can identify angles in parallel lines that have a transversal. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define parallel lines. So they are lines in a plane that what? Do not intersect. Do you guys know what symbol we use when we notate that two lines are parallel? If I draw two lines, how do I know that those are parallel?
They don't touch.
Well, right, but I could draw these two lines and they don't touch, do they? But those aren't parallel because they'll eventually touch. So, do you guys know what symbol we use? It looks like this. It's a little triangle. That's all you have to do. And those two lines are parallel. Isn't it magic?
Take everything in me not to say in this way.
I appreciate you restraining yourself. Alright, now, a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. I do. Right over here on my desk. Are we ready? Does anybody need another moment? Okay. Are we ready now?
Yes.
Is anybody not ready? Oh, my sweet Jesus in heaven, Curtis.
You know she records these, right? Yeah.
Why is it always crazy?
Okay, here we go. So we know that the measure of any line is 180 degrees. We learned that when we did our linear pairs, right? So we need to keep that in mind for what we're doing today. Now, we start with two types. We have corresponding angles. What do you think the word corresponding means?
They work together.
They work together? Okay. So corresponding angles are a pair of angles. Okay, Blair, you know how to spell. That lie on the same side of the transversal. It's a lot of words, but we're going to talk about it in a minute. And on the same side of the other two lines. Now, which ones? Let's look at our... Are we done writing, or do we need a moment? Okay. I can relax. Underline same side because that's very, 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 very important. Pardon?
Did you use that very?
No. Very important. Now I did. Are we ready now? Okay, so look at our pair of parallel lines down there at the bottom and the transversal. Now let's think about which ones could be corresponding. They have to lie on the same side of the transversal. So pick two angles that lie on the same side of the transversal, and this is our transversal.
1 and 6 and 1.
Okay, 1 and 7 are on the same side, but they also have to be on the same side of the other two lines.
3 and 5.
Are they on the same spot of the other two lines?
1 and 3.
Are they on the same spot of the other two lines? Are they on the same spot of the other two lines? So, look at 1. Where do you see 1 down here? Where could be a similar angle that matches 1? 5. Those are corresponding angles.
Oh, okay.
What about 3?
7.
What about 2?
6.
What about 4?
8.
Dun, 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 dun. Now, what do you think those two angles have in common?
They're the same degree.
They are the same measure. Take a point. The degree is the same. So let's write that. Corresponding angles are congruent. And that is very, very, very important. Bless you. Did you just die?
Yes.
So, what is the corresponding angle with 2 again?
6.
And they have the same measure, correct? So, if they have the same measure, we put little half moons indicating they have the same measure. Do you agree or disagree?
Agree.
Cool.
What?
I don't know.
What?
Pardon?
Remember Rusty Spoon? That you used to go out there?
Yes.
You said you would want to do it?
No. No.
You shouldn't eat with rusty spoon.
Why not? I wouldn't have.
Alright, so if the measure of angle 3, let's look at this where it says you try, the measure of angle 3 is 45 degrees. Tell me one other angle that is also 45 degrees and raise your hand, don't scream it out. Grant.
7.
7 is good, take a point. There's another one. Drake.
6.
Why?
Because it's the same measure.
Why?
I think you can see something. Because it's on the other side.
Why is it the same measure?
Because 3 is congruent to 7. So 7 is vertical to 6. And vertical.
Thank you, that's what I wanted. Take a point. Is there another one? Logan? 2. Good, take a point. Alright, does anybody have any questions on corresponding angles? If 3 is 35, what would angle 1, I'm sorry, if 3 is 40, potatoes, let me try again. If this is 45 degrees, what would the measure of angle 1 be? Why?
Because the line is
Hallelujah, we've learned something. Alright, alternate interior angles are also congruent, so let's write that down. What does alternate make you think of?
Like, they can be switched.
Switch, right? Okay, and interior means what? Inside. So it's a pair of angles
They can be switched inside.
hang on, that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. And what else do they have to be? Oh, Blair, you know how to spell. If they're interior, what do they have to be? Inside the other two lines. The parallel lines. Highlight opposite side and inside. Or underline, heart it, baby Jesus it. You may sharpen your pencil. Looking at our picture down there, which two, are we done writing?
No.
Okay, I'll pause. I get excited. Ready now? Okay, let's look at our angles down here. Which two are alternate interior angles? 3 and 6. Take a point. Are alternate interior angles. What else? 4 and 5. Are there any others that are inside the parallel lines? Are those inside the parallel lines? We already said that. Are those congruent?
Yes.
Are we sure?
Yes.
So what can we put on the little tickies? Can we put half moons?
Yes.
Now we said that 2 and 6 are congruent. Does that mean that 3 and 2 are congruent?
Yes.
Cool. Now if we have 1 moon on these, what would we have to have on 4 and 5? 2 moons. It's like we've learned something, Tater Tots. I don't care. We all are pumpkin.
I'm right.
Debatable.
I'm average.
Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready?
No.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yes, we're ready.
I gave up.
I'm sorry. You try and pull the screen down.
Can I do it?
Try and pull the screen down.
Let Drake try.
Curtis.
Down the idea.
What would happen on the first?
Let's try. Can I try?
Sure.
Let Drake try.
B.
Not yet. Can you go back?
No.
Please, your mom.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa.
What if she didn't have one?
That's very simple.
Are you calling Curtis she? Yes, Curtis is a she. If you guys didn't know.
All right.
I'm not no she on me.
I'm not. No. Wow.
Alternate exterior. So if alternate interior lies on opposite sides of the transversal, lies on opposite sides of the exterior. I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me try again. What was I trying to say? Alternate interior. They lie on opposite sides and they're inside. What would alternate exterior be?
No, upside and outside.
Look at you go. Take a point, Tater Tot. So alternate exterior angles lie on opposite sides of the transversal and are, Blair, you do know how to spell, outside. Label for me the alternate exterior angles. Tell me what you think they are. 1 and 8. 2 and 7. I don't know what happened.
But what is
They're gonna touch
you?
at a point.
What would 1 and 2 be?
Linear.
Adjacent and linear. Awesome. Do you think that alternate exterior angles are congruent? Yes, they are. Take a point. Everybody take a point for being a good sport today. Alright, can anybody tell me what we learned about complementary angles? Let's let someone from Ravenclaw talk. Ravenclaw, tell me about complementary angles.
You're always like a quiet table.
Yes. What? We just started muttering. Complementary angles. Look at you go. Take a point. So, angles add up to 90 degrees. What about supplementary angles, Beauxbatons? Somebody back here at Beauxbatons? 180 degrees. Take a point, Beauxbatons. Alright, what are vertical angles?
Equal the same.
They do equal the same, but what's an example of vertical angles? How can you define vertical angles?
3 and 2.
3 and 2 are vertical angles? Now how can we define it? Ainsley was holding up her arms, but we need to use words.
They're beside each other and they equal the same thing.
No, they're not beside each other.
They're across from each other.
And they are formed by the intersection of what? 2 lines. All right. So,
They're equal to each other.
I get to give out points, not y'all. I would love to take a point, though. Thank you so much.
Oh, wait,
Alright.
we give you points?
So, opposite angles formed by the intersection of 2 lines. And what do we know about their measure? They are congruent. Take a point. What about adjacent angles? What are they? Or do I need to slow down? Okay, sorry. Okay, I have an answer.
Are you recording all of your classes? Do you have to record all your classes?
If all the kids.
Are you posting them on YouTube?
No,
she just records them for fun.
Yeah.
He's talking about something different, y'all.
She records one the best.
He's talking about the national board thing that we still need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things signed.
What is the class?
I'm sorry?
So the next one is the next.
It's my next accreditation. And there's a process through it.
What's an accreditation?
Is it like either you record yourself or like someone has to come and view you?
I record myself and I submit it, and it has to meet their criteria.
If it doesn't,
Then I fail.
was it?
It has to meet their criteria.
What's the criteria?
It's a long, complicated process, y'all, but I would love to show you the PowerPoint if we want to one day.
Yeah.
We should do that.
Alright, adjacent angles. What are those? They are next to each other, so what does that mean?
They share some of the
They share a vertex and a side. Y'all were close, though. Take a point. Alright, so angles that share a common vertex and side. So let's look at this picture at the bottom. Why are 1 and 3 congruent? What kind of angles are those? Alright, why are 2 and 4 congruent?
Vertical.
Show 'em. What's the sum of 2 and 3?
180.
What's the sum of 1 and 2? What's the sum of 1 and 4? What's the sum of 4 and 3? What's the measure of 2 and 4?
90.
No, we don't know what that measure is, do we? So if I said that this was 35 degrees, what would be the measure of angle 4?
35.
What would be the measure of angle 3? Aha!
45.
Okay, good. Alright, ready to talk about homework? Yeah, well, we can keep going to the lesson. I can add more stuff to it. Alright. It is math workshop problems. We are going to make a tab in just a second, yes. Alright, so you are going to do number 9 and
I hate. Go away.
10 and 11. 9, 10, and 11. You can start on those now if you want to. I would highly suggest you start on 9, 10, and 11 right now. That way we can go over it at the end. Alright, what kind of angles are 4 and 9?
25.
What kind of angles are 4 and 9?
4 and 9, that's, that's,
Linear.
no, that's complementary.
None of those
Are corresponding.
Corresponding. Hallelujah. Hey, consecutive interior, that's a word that wasn't on our doodle, sorry. That means that they're on the same side. Inside. Like 6 and 9. So 3 and 5, what are those? Alternate interior. Alright, what about 1 and 6?
alternate exterior.
What about 2 and 3? Consecutive interior.
No, they congruent, or what's the?
Consecutive interior add up to 180. If I remember right. I could be a crazy person though.
That's reasonable.
And the last one, 4 and 11.
Alternate exterior.
Look at us go. Don't forget, 10 and 11. We had to do 9 and then 10 and 11. Does anybody have any questions? Can you please clean up your towers? Like, I want markers back in the 3rd drawer. If you had an extra unit table of contents, please hold it up so I can come get it.